good evening, and welcome. Tonight, we are going to be exploring a site in Reno, Nevada, the biggest little city in the world. And it is the National Automobile Museum. Panning over to the sign here, and you can see we are at the National Automobile Museum to see some very, very old and very beautiful cars. Now, I know pretty much nothing about cars, so what I'm going to tell you is just what I see on the little signs. So let's head on inside and see what we can learn about the cars. There's me walking in. Can you see me? Hello. So we head up to the front to purchase our tickets to explore this absolutely beautiful museum. We'll head into the gift shop last, but first we're going to explore this garage where there are cars under repair, or at least with the impression that they're under some kind of repair. There's a really cool sports car, and that old car you see right over here is a Ford Model T, one of the very first cars ever to be mass produced. Here's a Ford from 1914. It kind of gives that Chitty Chitty Bang Bang vibe, if you know that movie. It has a big old front there, a big space for the engine, and the top is down so you could feel the wind in your hair as you're driving in these soft, luxurious looking seats, going all but maybe 15 miles per hour probably. Very old cars. You can see there's a lot more down there to explore, but I thought it was neat that this really cool car was right up front. The first galleries from the 1900s, you can see, until 1925, and they had some really cool little mini exhibits down here. I tried to look inside this little viewfinder to see some old photographs of cars, but you can't really see it. Mostly I was just trying to avoid filming other people that were behind me looking at all the other cars. It's a cool picture of an engine there. The front there with the crank, you could actually crank the car like they did in the old days. And can we see what's in here? Yeah, not really. I tried. But let's head down to this area over here. This one kind of reminds me of like a Gatsby car, but it's from 1933 and it's a Chevrolet. Most of these cars are from the Harrods Club. Well, it says Harold's Club, but most of them are from the Harrod Estate, which was a really huge casino in the area prior to 2020, but the owner of that museum collected hundreds of classic cars, and almost all of them are in this museum. Look at this old guy. This is kind of like a little Art Nouveau section of the museum. We accidentally skipped over the older ones at the start and went to this section, but I think these cars are really quaint and, like I said, remind me of like a Gatsby kind of vibe. This is a very old gas pump. Look at those. You never really think about how gas pumps have evolved over time, but we're going to see a couple more coming up in this museum. I really love the little front pieces here. I think that they're all very intricately designed and something that we don't really have on cars anymore, or at least focus on cars nowadays. It adds a really cool touch. Here's another gas pump. Look at this big old guy. It's massive and so bright. I wonder why it was so brightly colored. I guess so you don't accidentally run into it. I do not know. Here's another beautiful car, a 1922 Lincoln. Now, Jay Gatsby would have probably driven a car like that, except he definitely would not have had a hard top. It's a really cool horn right there. You can see the cool little logo front piece thing. I'm forgetting what they're called right now. I'm sure it'll come to ornament, a hood ornament. There we go. This car actually has windshield wipers, which is probably very revolutionary, and really beautiful hubcaps, to be honest. Hello. And I tried to get a lot of interior shots in these cars, but it was really hard to see because they were so reflective. This hood ornament is a swan. Isn't that pretty? And the beautiful blue color on the sleek design is just very lovely. You can see that that's a soft top. And look, there's a movie theater playing some of my favorite movies, or at least pretending they are. And look at this guy. Very bright red and beautiful, by Sammy apparently. And it looks like it's just a little two-seater with some nice leather there. Here's a very fancy car. It's so nice. I'm not sure how else to say about it. It's a really pretty hood ornament there. I'm glad I remembered what those are called. Like, you have to be an important person to drive this kind of car for sure. Let's see what's over here. Oh, more gas pumps. That's a neat one. That looks a little bit more like a modern gas pump, right? You can see right here it tells you how much the gas would cost and how much you get per gallon and how many cents per gallon it is. There's the nozzle you would put into the car. They had some really cool, like, beautiful wall designs too. Last 1942 Hudson, and built to last. Isn't that neat? Here's another gas pump. You could get some ethyl. And same kind of design there. It contains lead and used for motor fuel only, mobile gas. Very interesting, I think. Something you don't really think about. And speaking of motor oil, here is an oil car. I'm not sure what they're called, but these guys would deliver your motor oil on this huge red vehicle with wooden hubcaps. That's pretty spiffy. And I'm going to take you over here to show you it's a Flying A gasoline truck. It would transport gasoline, I assume, to gas stations, or maybe they're on call, kind of like Milkman. And of course, we're in Nevada, so here's an old-fashioned one-armed bandit slot machine. Very old-looking, as a $100 jackpot. When in Nevada. They had so many classic license plates all over the place. It was really neat. I'm not sure I filmed it, but there was one we saw that was license plate number 1 in Nevada. But let's take a look at some of these cars. This is a really pretty olive green guy. He's got a crown for his hood ornament. And look, he has... Oh, I'll show you in a second as we look. And I see, oh, he's from 1915, a Briscoe. And then I noticed this huge eye. It's a Cyclops. It just had one big headlight right in the middle. This one's from 1915. It is a Dodge and has a big old front grille and a really nice little boxy compartment there. I love how these grills with the headlights look like little faces, right? I really liked this one. It's from 1914, you can see there, and it's so colorful. I wonder why it was painted so many different colors, and really interesting little driving compartment there with the wooden details. But it's so brightly colored, red and green, with the big old nose for an engine. I think that's cute. It's just a very cute little car. Looks like a little toy, I think. And it looks like there's tons of storage space in the back there. It's like a truck. Very old-timey truck. This is a beautiful car from 1913, a Stanley. It says it's a mountain wagon. You can see the Stanley logo right there. Very, very shiny. All these cars are so well maintained and preserved. Big, beautiful headlights that look like gas lamps. And yeah, I was looking at the controls. You can see the e-brake and all of the steering equipment. There's the steam, because it was steam powered, and you could go on a big old trip around town in this. Kind of like some kind of trolley vehicle. 1918 Stanley engine. That would be the kind of engine I assume is in that car. Now this guy was very old. He's in the National Historic Vehicle Register. And he's the 1907 Thomas Flyer, winner of the 1908 New York to Paris automobile race. He looks pretty banged up, but hey, he is a hero. He won a very cool sounding race. And there's lots of things on it to commemorate it. And remember it. The seats look a little worn, but it's got its really cool drum of some kind there. I'm not sure what that's for. And a really cool old flag. I assume a flag from the 1908 style of flags. Look at all those tires in the back there. They are prepared. Now this old honker is really neat looking. He's gray with beautiful white wheels and just space for two with a big old steering wheel. I like these cars because, oh, look at that horn. That's really cool. This car's from 1911. I like these because it looks like if you asked a 4-year-old to draw a car, they would look like that. Just like a huge steering wheel and like a hole in the middle. We'll see more cool cars like that too. Over here, we have some neat little buggies. Look at this car from 1913, a Peugeot, maybe? But it's very bright blue there on the hood. And just a nice little compartment you can squeeze in there together. Or look at that big old horn right there. You know, that thing goes like toot toot. Really old-fashioned like, right? Isn't that funny? Let's see this car. Oh, now that's fun. A 1913 Metz. And I really like the top there. It has a cool little windshield too, kind of revolutionary for its time compared to the other cars. And let's see this car. This is like a Gatsby yellow car, but definitely not a car from Gatsby's era. It's from, oh, I missed it, but look at all those cool controls. All those things that make your car go. There's a cool small little windshield right there so you can keep the wind out of your face but still feel the breeze. These cool headlights that look like gas lamps, I still can't get over those. They look so neat. And yeah, just a really cool, cozy car. Now this one looks super old-fashioned, right? You would be riding in style in this car. It's very luxurious looking, very shiny and beautiful. And let's take a look at some of its steering. Nope, I guess I couldn't get a good shot. This car's from 1913. It's a KRIT, whatever that means. Now, a lot of these are adopt-a-cars you can see there. That means you can actually, I think, I heard a docent or someone talking about how you can rent out these cars for a day. Now, this car is neat. This car was actually featured in the Titanic film starring Leo and Kate. It's not the car, you know, when you think of the car from the movie Titanic. But it was featured in the film, and I fangirled over it and got really excited because the Titanic is one of my favorite things in history, and it's a really fantastic movie, and I've never seen any kind of prop or anything from that film. So I was zazzed over this car. I thought it was awesome. This is an electric car from 1912. It was invented by Thomas Edison, and look at that little compartment in there. It's so quaint and so tiny compared to the others, I suppose, because it doesn't have a massive cylinder engine in the front, huh? This one's got some pretty spiffy wheels on it. And let's see what we can read about this car. Oops, there's lots of people in the way, so we're going to look at this car instead. This car is from 1911, a Pope Hartford. That's a pretty neat logo. It looks very cozy as well. Very bright orange and everything. And let's look at Mr. Conductor here. I'm not quite sure why he was there, but he was certainly there to help point out the cars, I suppose. This car's from 1910. It's a Stearns, I believe. Also very cute, quaint compartments there. Along with those beautiful gas lamp looking headlights. I wonder if they were gas lamps, because they certainly look like it. This reminded me of like an old horse-drawn carriage because of the whole carriage design, right? I thought it was really, really cool. Look at this beautiful olive green car here with its top down and just really really shiny and beautiful. It's a Rolls Royce, that's why it's so beautiful. It is luxurious because Rolls Royce has always made luxurious cars, even way back in the 1910s. Very cool. There's a portrait of it. Or it might be this car actually, a 1910 Oldsmobile. It has gigantic eyes in the front and is very shiny and beautiful and very, very well preserved. Let's look at this cool car. Some of these cars are kind of like hearse-esque, you know, it's like it's 1911 Ford. How like her hearse design hasn't really changed since back then. They still kind of look like that. This one is cool, kind of reminds me of like a horse-drawn little buggy, how it's designed like that. That big old steering wheel. Here's another kind of chitty chitty bang bang car, the big headlights, and look at, there's like couches in this car. Pretty cool. This one is fire engine red, and that is for a reason. I believe it's this one. Maybe not. Nope, it is this one. This is the fire chief's car. This is the one I was thinking of. It's got the bell in the front and everything that a fire chief would need, probably driving in front of the actual fire trucks, which, if I remember, I think I filmed an actual fire truck. Look at the cylinders inside of this car, still very brand new looking, even though this car is well over 100 years old. Pretty amazing. Let's take a look at some more cars from the 1910s. Look how big these spare tires are. You really forget how huge these tires are. They don't look so big when they're on the car, but when they're on the sides or the back, you're like, oh my goodness, that is absolutely massive. Like this guy's got two big old spares right there. Let's see, this car is from 1908, a Freyer Miller, and it is air cooled. So I assume that's some kind of air conditioning from back in the day. Very, very neat looking car. Over here, let's see what we have. Another very beautiful red car. And a very beautiful black car with red details. That's pretty neat. You don't see a lot of those from the classic cars. Let's take a look at this car now. It's a really beautiful blue color, and it's got weird seating arrangements there. It looks like you could just sit right in the front, like on top of the engine. Pretty cool. They should make cars like that nowadays. The first year of gasoline-powered cars. You could see one of the earliest cars that was meant to be driven with gasoline. Here's a really pretty white car from 1909. It's a steam car, though. Not quite the gasoline innovation. This one's got some picnic baskets on the side. A 1903 Ford. Lots of wood details in there. And you can go for a little picnic, I suppose, with your storage compartment there. This one is really cool. Again, like another kind of car that if you asked a very young child to draw a car, it would probably look something like that. Just very tall and a little squad. Looks like a sled, right? That's like Santa's car. Now, this is a race car for sure. The number on there, 1904 Renault. And my goodness, it almost looks like a wicker seat, but it's not. And it has a little sidecar too, so you can go super fast in the races. This one's neat too. Just a little red guy. Ooh, this one's super shiny. Kind of the same thing, but it's got a neat little back compartment. This one is fun. A 1903 car. Lots of leather detailing. And look, it is a 3-wheeled car. That is only one wheel in the very front. Don't see those anymore, do you? This one's cool. Kind of reminded me of like a bonnet. An 1899 Locomobile. Now that is an old car. That's from like when cars were first invented, right? That is an ancient car. This one is even older, 1892. It's got some kind of weird engine front there. It's got like a crank instead of a steering wheel. Did you notice that? This has a cool license plate from the Harris Club. And it's a beautiful car. the car that started it all. Here's first car, I assume. Here is Maxwell. There he is with the car. Let's see what's over here. Now look at this thing. From 1897, Leon Bolet. Another weird three-wheeled contraption, but the third wheel's in the back instead of the front. Very precarious looking little seats and that cool steering wheel there. That is a strange thing, but you know, it's kind of interesting how when these things were first becoming invented, they did all sorts of different kinds of strange shapes, including this. I walked right up to this and said, that is a whale. That is not a car. This is some kind of marine creature, so I had to check it out. It's a Dymaxion. It's a really cool old three-wheeled car. I think this might have been, a couple of these were just prototypes that were never actually used because they were just not practical. Because, wow, that is so oddly shaped. And look at this very old ancient RV. This car could fold out into a table with an awning and you could go camping with it. How cool is that? Here's another cool old friend here. And look at this. This is a mail truck. 1929 Ford Model A. And it was meant to deliver mail. It's a postal carrier's car. Now look at this. This is another aquatic creature. This is definitely some kind of fish. This one I definitely know was a prototype that was never used. And the sign talks about how this was the only one ever built. 1937 Aeromobile. Only one built. It just was too impractical and too strange, but it looks like a big goldfish. It's pretty cool how innovative they were. I love these style of cars. I think it's because I love films from the 1930s and 40s, and you see cars like that. This makes me happy. Now look at these little guys. Really cool, kind of speedy cars. Very tiny and three-wheeled as well. They also had lots of children's cars, so I assume this was some kind of toy, but wow, they had a lot of these. We're going to see a lot more. And it's like they literally just gave cars to children back in the day, apparently. A 1941 Lincoln Zephyr. This one's really cool. A Plymouth. It's just like cars you see in old films. It makes me happy to see them in real life. It makes me feel like I'm in a film. Cars like this, a 1933 Studebaker. Just makes me feel like I'm in an old movie. This one has a huge front. They all kind of do to fit those huge engines inside. Here's another black one with the red details. I really like those. That style. You should put that on more modern cars. Here's some more little children's cars. This is a Bugatti. Can you imagine? How cool is that? And more little toy cars. They've even got spare wheels on them. Now this one is quite luxurious, I think. But there's too many people over there, so we're going to move to this 1931 Ford. And this really cool guy with the long nose, he's got an old Oregon license plate. Now I like this one because they're like trucks. Like, look at this. This is a Chevy pickup from 1928. It's got a big old back compartment there to carry things. So when you see Chevy pickups on the road today, this is how they started. And they've evolved to what we know. Pretty cool, I think. Look at all the space back there. Drive around whatever you need to drive around. This is Mary Pickford's car. So Mary Pickford was a really incredible actress. You can see there. She won the first Best Actress Academy Award in a talking film. So she was the first actress to win an Oscar who spoke on film, and that's one of her cars. That's really, really neat. Now, aren't these beautiful? Look at that tiny guy. I think I had to stop and be like, who and what is that? Now, here we have some more really cool shiny cars. I think... okay, I was moving over here now because now all the people had moved. We can see some more really beautiful. Look at the front on this. Look at that grille. That is so incredible. It's so sleek and stylish. This car is kind of long too, but it's neat. An old California license plate. And here's another guy with big old eyes in the front. They had such huge headlights, but I suppose it was very important to be able to see where you were going, as it still is today. Lots of these have such beautiful front details to them. Here's another little zip car of some kind. Pretty cool. Now here we have a fire engine. This is it. You can see they've got space for the ladder. There's a bell. There's hoses there. Everything that a firefighter would need back in the day. Now this was cool. They had an actual old motor running. You can see the cylinders and everything moving, all the little parts. It stopped, so I hit the button again. There we go. So we could still see it going. Pretty cool, all those little moving intricate details. Let's see what we can find over there. Try not to film these small children that were over here. And this is a very beautiful 1926 Pontiac. A question mark Dodge. We don't even know what this car's deal is. But it is very beautiful and it looks pretty fun to drive, doesn't it? So many interesting cars. I love the color on that one. That's like my favorite color, that bluish color. But this one's neat. It has a lion on the front. That's awesome. This car is getting some detail work done, clearly. Now this one is cool. It looks like an actual sled, like they just put a motor on a sled, which is probably exactly what happened, to be honest. Like someone had an idea and they went with it and it worked. You definitely wouldn't be able to pull that off today. Let's see, some more engines here and some very beautiful, that one has a neat compartment. Look, this is a 1946 Harley Davidson motorcycle. Probably the most famous motorcycles in the world. Beautiful detailing and everything. It's so classic. There's a really cool looking go-kart thing. You can play real-life Mario Kart with that. And a 1954 Buick. So we're moving into the 50s right now. This, like auto shop, I think, had a cool display here to advertise everything. Here's another gas pump. You could see how much it would cost and how many gallons you would get. And these came from San Francisco, from my hometown. Pretty neat. Royal 76 gas pumps. We're on Corvette Way now. This was celebrating 100 years of the Corvette. I was looking at the license plate here, but I failed to notice that this car was owned by John Wayne. Yes, the John Wayne. How cool is that? Very cool old classic car. Let's take a look at Corvettes from history. Let's move down here and see how Corvettes have evolved over time. This one's kind of sleek, kind of looks like a Batmobile, but hold on to that thought because we're going to see something really cool. This one starts to look like an actual Corvette, like we know today. It's an official pace car from the Indy 500. It is a racing car. Well, a pacing car, but a car nonetheless. I liked that it had fuzzy dice in the front. This one's pretty cool. Looking a little bit 70s, 80s here. These were the Corvettes that came out when I started driving way back in the day. They looked just like that because they were that, I suppose. And then we start getting into the much more modern, beautiful, sleek, classy cars of today. I tried to get, again, some interior shots here. You can see me there, but the windows were just too reflective and you can't really see in. Modern car, and then this one down here is from 2022. Again, I'm trying to look inside to see the difference and how much the designs of the cars have changed, not just on the outside, but on the inside as well. They're a whole different machine, right? A brand new car. Hello there. Again, trying to see the interior and all of the specialness inside, but it's very hard to do that. And that's 100 years of Corvettes. How cool is that? Another shot here of that weird little thing in the picture there. And then look at this. This is another electric car from 1914. Look at this battery system. It took all of those batteries to power this car from 1914. That's pretty neat. It's so weird that like electric cars were so common back then. Here's a 1921 Rolls Royce. Let's take a look at it. Big old front grille. The classic, I forgot what they were called again. Hood ornaments there. And here we get into kind of this goofy era of like 40s and 50s cars where they were just very oblong and very oddly rectangular and smooth at the same time, but I think it's pretty neat. Here's like a classic one. It's from, 1942. It's got that classic like teal, green, blue seafoam color. That's the description. This one was really lumpy. 1941. And very shiny as well. This one is canary yellow, and I got excited here because I saw the good old Volkswagens. I love these little cars. This one is from 1947, and we'll see some from the 1960s. It's funny how they really haven't changed much. That classic shape is still there. That one's pretty too. Here you can see we're getting into the interior designs that look more like cars today, with just a practical steering wheel that isn't like 3 miles long. And it's a beautiful purple car. That's a beautiful color, isn't it? Here's another weird lumpy one, a Jaguar from 1949. This car has butterfly doors. How interesting that those were invented so long ago, but there they are indeed. That is awesome. Pretty kind of goldish car, kind of an amber color. Isn't that neat? It looks like it was used for silver. I can't really see what it was for. I don't remember. But very fancy. Let's head over here to avoid some people. Look at this little guy. He's just small and tiny and very compact. And I was trying to look inside, to no avail, and look at that hood, so funny. And I was like, this is a modern car, okay. I was wondering, like, is that an accident? But I'll come back to that and show you why it was in this exhibit. We're kind of getting more and more modern now, as you can tell through history. What is another Cyclops there? The Cyclops 2 replica. And it raced in Le Mans. Not this car, I don't think, but this type of car would race in Le Mans. Another Volkswagen here. Again, 20 years later, they still pretty much look the same. Here's another old Studebaker. Lots of storage space on the top for your luggage or your surfboards, and so much space in that car you could fit like 10 people in there. This is a Studebaker from 1953. Here's another lumpy guy. 1939 Ford. I don't know why this car or this style of car reminds me of like Roger Rabbit. Here's some cool little carts, kind of maybe like early off-road vehicle motorcycle kind of things, but it has 3 wheels. And that one's blue, and this one in front is pink. Pretty awesome. Now look at the designs on these cars. Roth's Beatnik Bandit. Look at that. Now that is a space-age car. That's George Jetson's car. This section was pretty neat. They had lots of cool little rat fink things. You can see them in the back there. And very just bizarrely 60s cars. Look at that compartment. It is a UFO. That is from outer space. Here we're getting into some more like American graffiti, Grease style cars. That's what these remind me of. And here's an old look at the back space in this car. My gosh, you could fit a whole party back there. So much space. It's like they started designing more and more passenger room in these cars. Maybe because road trips were starting to become a thing and they wanted to bring as many people as possible. Maybe, I'm not sure. Let's see over here. We're in the 1950s over here. I love this car, the seafoam color. I love it. I still think they should put it on cars. You don't really see it a lot. But of course you see lots of red cars. That's never going anywhere, right? Now look at this guy. What did these remind you of? I'm trying to think. This definitely reminds me of some kind of old movie. Look at the like carpeted seats in there. 1958 Cadillac. And here's a Ford Thunderbird. Doesn't look anything like the modern kind of Thunderbird cars. Another motorcycle here. Looks pretty cozy, a little bit more modern. Another one over there. And this museum has lots of cool event space in it. There were signs all over the front about renting it out for events, and you'll see in another room that they were setting up for some kind of big event, but we'll get to that later. Here's a couple of older cars. What a surprise at the car museum. Look at the cylinders on that one. And look at the horns right there. My gosh, this thing must toot like nobody's business, right? Over here we've got a really beautiful, sleek car. Here's another pretty kind of bright seafoam color on a 1954 Dodge. Very cool. And then I was like, well, they put this car in backward. And then I realized that no, they didn't. That's just the front. It absolutely looks like the back of the car, but it's not. It has a huge engine in the front. That's when you could actually see the engines. And then I was like, why is there a 2003 Toyota over here? And it's because this was the first ever electric full-size electric car. How neat is that? It makes you think that, like, you know, classic things or like everyday things are going to be classic things someday, like this cool race car Ferrari. We're gonna look at some more race cars over here. Like, these cars are pretty typical for race cars, but nowadays you'd never see anything like it. Let's take a look at these awesome racing cars. I really like the little side compartment there. There's like a classic looking racing car right here. Lots of cool photographs in the back too of these cars. Now that one, you know, is zippy. Here's a more kind of modern looking NASCAR with the logos on it. This old Lincoln. You wouldn't imagine that as a racing car. I think this was my favorite car in the whole exhibit. What in the world is this space alien car? It has the biggest nose in the world. Its name is Big Daddy. That looks like it would be crazy to drive. My goodness. I was trying to read about this car. It says it's the funny car. And, yeah, I was trying to understand what that meant. So it looks like it's a kind of car where the whole top comes off to, like, surprise people. I didn't quite understand what it meant. Hello. Let's see what else we have. Spirit of Nevada racing car here. Much more modern looking. This one, not so much. It said on the window that it beat a world record, but I was trying to read the side and I couldn't see what it was. But that was a really interesting shape. Here's me going back. The Steamin' Demon. Some kind of sports car. The steam turbine, it says on there. Little cart guys that you would zoom and zip around in so fast, I suppose. And then, oh, the battery box. You know, that's not a bad name for this kind of car because that's pretty much describing it perfectly. A battery box. This over here, I was like, what in the world is this? And I had to take a good long look at it before I read the sign and realized what it was. Huge wheels. Huge compartment, the Flying Caduceus. I was like, what is this? And then I realized this was the world's fastest Indian from the film, The World's Fastest Indian. This was a record-breaking speed car. It's basically like an airplane on a car body, so it could go incredibly fast. And that car is actually from the film. Isn't that neat? And we're moving into this space. You could see they're setting up for an event in this room, because this room appropriately leading into from the Flying Indian over there, are cars that were featured in films or were owned by movie stars. So let's see the story behind this car. It's from 1948, and it was featured in a film with Jeff Bridges, which I've never heard of, but it's a very beautiful car. This one is really spiffy. Let's see the story behind this car. I loved this section because I love film and all of that, and it was neat to see. Oop. Did I get a shot of what this car is? There we go. Nope. Well, it's very beautiful nonetheless. But I wish I could see. I think it was from a film I didn't recognize, or was owned by some celebrity I didn't know. This was Al Jolson's car, though, right here, this black car. Al Jolson was the very first person to speak on film. So that's pretty neat that his car's here. Definitely some film history here in this car. And there he is over there in the chassis on the sign. Let's see what else we have in this section of the museum. We have this cool DeLorean. Now, this is not the DeLorean, it's gold, which is pretty cool. But yeah, amazing that someone got their DeLorean plated in 24 karat gold. Very valuable cars nowadays, thanks to Back to the Future. This car was from the film Grease. You could see John and Olivia there. I made a little note. Olivia Newton-John, rest in peace. What a remarkable person that we've recently lost. But there's the Grease Lightning. How cool is that? It's got John Travolta's name on it. Here is James Bond's car. You can see Sean Connery there. It's got cool little guns and little missiles down at the bottom. Very neat little 007 car. This car was from the film Too Fast, Too Furious, which I have not seen any of those films, but I've heard that they're actually pretty good. But this car is a little outrageous. I wonder what the story is behind this car. Over here we have Herbie, whom I hope you know from the Herbie films. One of the original smart car, right? Good old Herbie. And let's see, over here, oh, I remember this car. This car was owned by John F. Kennedy. There's pictures of him in it. And I was looking at it, I'm like, there's nothing remarkable about this car until I read that it was owned by John F. Kennedy. That's pretty cool. President's car. And kept in perfect condition. You kind of wonder how this car changed hands and made its way here to the museum. Now, we all know who that is. That's James Dean. This is his car in Rebel Without a Cause, his signature film before he passed away. Pretty neat. Over here we have Kit from the show Knight Rider with David Hasselhoff. His cardboard cutouts over there, but I didn't even notice it until we were leaving. But there's the car from Knight Rider. That's Kit. And here is the DeLorean. This is the car from Back to the Future, all geared up like it is for the films. Save the clock tower. There's David Hasselhoff. But I was trying to see inside to see the flux capacitor, to see if the dates are on there, but I couldn't get a good look inside. It just wasn't a good angle, but I'm certain it was there. And look how much they went all out on this set. The Mill Valley sign, and look at all the clocks there. They did a great job setting up the design for that car. Now this car, as you can tell, was owned by Elvis Presley. There he is. The big Elvis sign. This was one of Elvis's cars. Pretty cool. It definitely looks like a car that Elvis would have owned. If you just told me this was Elvis's car, I would not be surprised one bit. It just absolutely screams Elvis Presley, doesn't it? How funny. Let's see, this car. Oh, this is one of Frank Sinatra's cars. There he is right there. And one of his very fancy cars, or a very fancy man. Trying to avoid some people. This is not from a this actual was not from a film, but It is from the film Onward, which is an animated film, so Pixar made this car for promotions. It's exactly like it is in the film. It's all dusty and worn and everything. They did an amazing job on this. And this is the Green Hornet's car. You can see him in there. The very first superhero ever. And there's his car from, I want to say it was a TV show. Maybe it was a film. I'm not sure. Speaking of films, this car was made for an Elvis film. It looks really goofy and strange, but most Elvis films were very goofy and strange, so that's not surprising. Here is the Adam West Batmobile from the Batman TV show. Like probably one of the most famous cars ever. And this is a Batmobile from the very first Batman film with Michael Keaton. Apparently this was just added very recently to the museum, and I was like gobsmacked to see these two cool Batmobiles together. I'm not even a huge Batman fan, but I thought this was the neatest thing. And there was a tour guide nearby saying that these cars run perfectly. They're like road safe and everything. They're not just props, they are actual cars. They got a good setup for the Batman cars too. How neat is that? Lastly, we are going to head off to the gift shop and see what they have for sale. Obviously they have toy cars, that's not a surprise, but lots of cool books about cars too. They had lots of fun signs. This parking for Irish grandpas. That's very specific, but you could get them for your cars. And various other things like, let's see, grandma's parking only. Very funny. Very clever. And the one down there says football widow. Very, very funny. There's some cool shirts from the museum. You can commemorate your visit with a t-shirt or some of these cool miniature versions of the cars. They had lots of stickers around the shop too. Nothing too exciting, but they were neat. And lots of replica plates you could get from some of the famous cars. Some Playmobil cars. You could get some fuzzy dice for your car. Lots of accessories. And they had so many t-shirts there. So many. And lots of Rat Fink. They had Rat Fink almost everything in this gift shop. Which, I don't know, is it just me, or has Rat Fink always been really, like, unappealing and very ugly? Of course, they had some Hot Wheels cars and Matchbox cars. You, like, have to have these when you're a kid growing up, right? And lots of cute little toy cars for littles who are too little to have Matchbox cars. And lots of fun stuff for children of all ages. They had lots of car pins for your car to decorate your car with. All the little vintage logos there. And then lots of just random stuff that they had on sale that I guess didn't belong anywhere else. Very funny. I took a look at the ice cream because I was getting really hungry, and ice cream sounded really good. But this is typical American ice cream fare. That's pretty much what we have here in America. Where we're going, we don't need roads. I love the Back to the Future films. All three of them are so good. Car guy, like a regular guy, only cooler. They had lots of nameplate signs. And people were all over these trying to find their names. But they had a bunch of them. We've got lots of race cars, little race tracks and cars to race them on. What else do we have over here? Oh, this section was neat. This has a lot of Nevada history, Reno history. Here's a Nevada passport that had all these cool sights to see and little areas to stamp when you visited them, and lots of facts about Nevada. And just lots of cool little car things. I saw the classic Harris dice over here. You could get actual casino used dice from the old Harris casino. And we are on our way out. So thank you so much for watching. I do hope you found this video relaxing and educational. If you liked this kind of video, please let me know in the comments and maybe we can visit other museums in the area. Thank you so much and have a very good